Yep, okay. So the webinar is now live. Attendees are logging in. I'm just gonna give each attendee about 2 minutes, about till 3:02, and then we'll start off with the welcome. I do wanna thank all students and teachers that are watching from the comfort of your own home or from the school. Thank you for joining our Student Leadership Series Week 1 live session panel. I know that majority of you all have finished just about all of your workshop activities, which VitaLink is very proud that you are participating. Let's see. Sorry, the numbers are growing. I'm so excited everyone's here. So right now it says we currently have 186 participants. The numbers are still coming in. And so for those of you that are still joining us, we do have closed caption at the bottom that you can read. It is a little bit delayed, but the panelists and I will be sure to talk slowly and enunciate. And then we will answer, ask and answer the questions that majority of you all have listed on your pre-survey. So again, I do want to welcome you for joining us to our Student Leadership Series panel, session week 1. We're going to go ahead and have our panelists introduce themselves, starting with their name, company, position, and overview of their company. If we could start off with Mr. Ray Elledge.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here and happy to share a little bit of my experience and wisdom with everybody. I'm the National Sales Manager for VeriSurf Software. We're involved with advanced manufacturing. We have customers such as Boeing and SpaceX, Northrop, US Navy, and all the other suppliers down the food chain to the small mom and pop shops across the country, around the world. And my job is to bring our technology into schools, colleges, and universities for the purpose of supporting our industrial customers with new talent who's available and ready to hire at a moment's notice. So welcome everybody, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Ms. Karen Rager.
Hello, everyone. I own Raga Resources Group. It's an executive search firm here in Irvine, California. We are global. Can you hear me okay? Or? Okay. And we specialize accounting, finance, and IT. So when a company is looking to hire great talent, they will reach out to us and we will find that talent, and then they pay us a fee for finding those individuals for them. It's a great industry to get into. It's a lot of fun, and you're finding out what new software, what new technology, what new products are coming out in the world. Some of our clients are Thermo Fisher Scientific, USC, Blizzard, Entertainment, Denso, Tesla. So we work with a variety of customers.
And then Mr. Bill Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and glad to be here and glad to see all of you here in the background. I'm the CEO and developer of a company called BERT, which is Building Emergency Response Teams. We've been around since 2008, and our whole focus and purpose is to help organizations to develop safety teams and emergency programs to be able to help their employees and to reduce injuries and illnesses. Our company byline is saving life and limb by alleviating fear, because we don't operate on a fear-based. It's just a matter of let's educate ourselves and move forward. We have companies like Irvine Ranch Water District, Waste Management Irvine, Santa Ana, the Orange County Waste and Recycling, as well as very small organizations like Caliber Signs in Irvine. So it literally, from the two-person shop to the multi-thousands of people, everyone needs just this focus on safety.
Great. So we'll go ahead and get started with the questions. And Bill, if we can stick with you for the first question. A student asked, what skills, technical or personal, would be necessary to get a career like yours that they can start building right now?
I think there's two things. One is really advanced project management skills and training. So really understanding the nuances of how to move through a project. And so using that. And then I would say, but the other one is really understanding the cross-platform tools. For instance, Zoom, we have Zoom here. I have another one that I'm working with that's WebEx. Have another one that we're doing, I can't even remember the name of it, and then a fourth. And so each one, when a client needs it, we have to be proficient enough to be able to step right up. And so don't get focused on Word or one, but really get a broader understanding of all the different platforms of delivery and contact management or project management or whatever. Just learn as much as you can to understand a broad brush to all of them.
Okay. And then same question for you, Karen. What's technical or personal skills would be great for getting a job like yours that students can build right now?
Strong communication skills are very important in this field. You really need to be able to listen to what a candidate is telling you they really are looking for in that next opportunity, as well as look when you're talking to a client to understand really what's going to be important, not only on the hard skills, but the soft skills. That's what's going to set you apart. Really developing strong computer skills, because there's new systems coming out all the time. So you really want to make sure you're on top of that to be able to work with that, because many times you'll be using the company's CRM or their systems to enter your candidates into them. And just building a network. You never know who you're going to meet. So treat everyone with respect. They could be your next employer.
Okay. And finally for Ray as well, what skills, technical or personal, would be great to build right now for a career like yours? Oh, sorry, Ray, you're muted.
There we go. How's that?
Perfect.
Can you see this background here? So
Yes.
what you don't want to be is this guy. You don't want to be this person out by themselves, all alone, solitude. You want to be like these guys here. You want to be a team player. Move around a little bit. You want to be a team player in an organization. You want to get involved. You want to ask smart questions. There are no dumb questions, but you always want to volunteer for new projects. Put your hand up, get involved, take a risk, and learn as you go, and listen carefully. Listen carefully. Listen, find somebody in the organization that you want to mentor you, and listen and watch those skills from the executives and the program managers and the managers, and apply those interpersonal communication skills. It is so important to get along with people and to do what the successful people do, and show up every day, dress appropriately, speak properly. And what Karen said earlier, respect everybody, and be very polite, be very businesslike, because you never know who's listening. You never know who's reading your emails. You never know what someone's going to say or do. They've got cameras everywhere these days. So there is no shenanigans going on. And again, interpersonal communication skills is paramount. It's important. How you conduct yourself every day is who you are and how you rise in an organization.
Perfect. And so we did receive a question in the Q&A. And so I'll just go through asking each of you, and we'll start with Ray. Someone asked, what class should you take? And I guess we'll refer to college classes so that way they're prepared. What college classes should you take in order to get into your career? So I guess you can mention your college major, and that might help them.
Right. My major, boy, I'm across the board. I've got a surveying degree. I have a business and marketing degree and a bachelor's degree. I've got a master's in business and management. I've got graduate degree courses from USC, and I've taken a lot of technical self-taught online training as well as hands-on. I'm a guy that gets involved and gets into things, sort of like this picture back here. That's SpaceX. That's one of our customers, where you have to apply your knowledge and learn. And a lot of times videos don't do it. You got to get out there and put your hands on equipment and use it and make the mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and apply what you know to the next time around. And you'll impress people by knowing what you should know. It's important. So the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic, that gets you started. And then you move into blueprint reading, and then CAD. And then from CAD, you can go in from various different directions.
Awesome. And I'll refer the same question to Ms. Karen with what classes should you take in order to get into your career? And then you can also mention your major or majors that you had.
I would recommend you take classes in human resources, marketing, and definitely some journalism, because the worst that a person can do is send an email as if it was a text. And you're automatically eliminated when we see that. And making sure that the grammar is correct, really, and also taking some basic computer classes, because when a client is talking to you or when a company is talking to you, they're going to be asking you about your computer skills. And it won't just be about Facebook and Instagram. It'll be what types of software have you worked with. So do your homework, research what you're doing, and you'll go far. My background or my major was in fashion management. I wanted to be a fashion designer and realized there wasn't a lot of money in that, and decided to get into human resources. And that's how I ended up where I am today.
Very nice. And then I'll direct the same question to Bill Cunningham for what classes should you take in order to get into the career that you're in? And they can also mention your major that you may have. And then you are muted. I'm so sorry. The fun in tech.
I would say that if you were to take Ray's resume and look at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you'll find me. I literally went into the service right out of high school, right at the end of the Vietnam War, and have no degree. I have I have some college, but I do have, what I've done is built a business with certificates. I have a very strong legal background. I have I'm a nationally certified paralegal. I have lots of certificates along those lines, certificates in nonprofit management. But and the whole thing is with the nonprofit management certificate, it helps in the interpersonal skills, is that you learn to treat everybody as a volunteer rather than everybody as an employee. And I didn't mean to get off on that topic, but there's a way to do it. But I've got to say, when I look back and I talk to my kids and my grandkids, it would have been so much easier, to get where I am today had I had some advanced, some degrees, behind me. It just helps makes the process easier. I think I would say I'm equal with peers at this place, but it would have been so much easier.
Very nice. And so we have many more Q&As that have been entered. And so I'll kind of balance those in with the questions as well. And I'll direct this one to Ms. Karen. Someone asked, what does your day-to-day look like with work? And what skills are you using in pertaining to time management for your day-to-day?
So I plan my day the night before, and that is really taking a look at what needs to be taken care of. So everything is prioritized, and you have to stay focused on what you're doing as a recruiter. You cannot be getting up every 5 minutes to go look what's on TV. You really need to be focused and doing your homework about a company. The worst thing a candidate can say when you're interviewing is when the employer asks you, did you take a moment to review our website? And the person says no, automatically, we are not going to be interested in you. So I start my day off, really interviewing candidates is the first thing I do. And that's usually from 8 till about 1 o'clock. And then from there, I'm out going to visit my clients. You make more of an impact when you actually get to see the organization's environment, the types of people that work best in that environment, so I can find the right people for them. And whatever I don't finish at the end of the day, that goes back on my to-do list for the next day. But if it goes on my to-do list more than 3 days, then I haven't been prioritizing my time. So it's time management, organizational skills, and follow-up. You need to be consistent in what you do. If you're going to tell a client or a candidate you're going to call them at 2 o'clock, you need to call them at 2 o'clock, not at 2:15 and said, I totally forgot. It's treating everyone with respect and valuing their time.
Perfect. And I'll direct the same question to you, Ray, where they're asking, what does your day-to-day look like and how are you using time management skills? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
There we go. Once again, thank you for that question. Time management skills is more art than science half the time. The world I live in with a number of databases, there's Outlook, and there's a Zoho, which is a database, and there's a number of different things that keep me on track. And so you have to be extremely well organized, extremely well focused, like Karen was saying. You have to pay attention to the smallest of details. And actually working from home, as we're doing a lot now, I'm putting in more hours now than I was if I was going to a regular office. And there's a level of commitment there. There's a level of detail there. If you're just going to be a slacker and not pay attention and kind of bump along and try to draw a paycheck, then you're never going to go anywhere. If you want to rise through the ranks, if you want to get to the executive level, you've got to pay attention to the smallest of details. You've got to put in the extra time and overtime, involving yourself in projects and people. And I might just put a little caveat here and suggest one thing, and that is, it's actually a secret that most people don't know about. There's an organization called Toastmasters. And as crazy as that sounds, Toastmasters is a learning education. It's self-paced. There's 5,000 clubs worldwide, and you learn how to communicate with people, both verbally and nonverbal communication, as well as listening skills. Listening skills are extremely important. So many of our young people these days know it all, think they know it all, act like they know it all, present themselves like they know it all, and they don't. They don't. There's a lot to learn in this world. And as young men and women, you'll find that out as you progress through your careers. And so this learning skills involve listening as well as speaking. So when you control the English language, you control your life. You control how people affect you, how you affect people, and how your career will progress or how it will degress. And going back to what Karen says, you treat everybody with respect, you listen to what they have to say, you apply what you learn, and you pay attention to details. So staying organized, absolutely. I am bouncing, I am floating. I've got anywhere from 25 to 50 people at any one time that I am communicating with, that I'm organizing things with, that I am doing sales or marketing or deliveries or the smallest details in the technical industry I'm in. The smallest little thing can ruin your whole day. So you got to be on top of your game. You got to be sharp. Now, I have two hobbies in my past. One of them was yacht racing, and one of them was Formula One race car racing. And I can tell you, half the race is won before you leave the dock. Half the race is won before you leave the pits. Half your job success is made by learning what you need to know before you show up every day. I should just cut it there. So thank you, Andrea.
No worries. And so I'll direct the same question to Mr. Bill with, what does your day-to-day look like with your company, and how are you utilizing time management skills?
Well, it's interesting because one of my passions that I've talked a little bit about is nonprofit work, and I'm actually on 4 working nonprofit boards. And it's as a disabled veteran, there's a lot of work with veterans, disabled veterans in the communities, and there's a lot of it drives my passion for my give back for the day. But the thing is that it's very easy to become so diffused when you have, because we have four divisions to the company that I'm heading up. And so it's so easy to be whipped around from one area to another that what works for me extremely well, and I guess this is some of the military coming back, is that I have a very defined day. I get up at 6:30 in the morning, and that's time for reflection. That's just my quiet time. 7:30, I work out. 8:30, I start on nonprofit work, and I block out my nonprofit work from 8:30 to 9:30. And I drive, if I don't get it done, I push it over to the next day or whatever. From 9:30 to lunch is business development work. After lunch is the deliverables that we're doing for clients. 3:30, I stop and get on the hot topics we have to deal with, and then I end at 5:30. So the point is that if to do as many different things, and we're hearing it from others in different organizations, and then all the people that are feeding in, it's very easy to just kind of be blowing like the wind. And so I just kind of very carefully manage that, so that if somebody calls, I say, let's talk tomorrow morning at 9:45, during that part of my day. And I use the program that I use and live by is Trello. It's an amazing project management tool. And I have about 7 Trello boards with all the different things that are working. And that's the main program that I use, for time management for everyone, because as Ray was saying, there's got to be a date on it. You're going to make a commitment, you're going to keep it. And there's ways to do that.
Great. So the next question, and again, I'm going to try to balance the questions from Q&A into the previous questions. And I'll direct this one to Mr. Ray. A student's asking, what's an important collaborative skill that will help them act and be professional in a modern workplace?
Collaborative skill. Not sure which skill set the young man or woman is referring to. Perhaps, Andrea, you can help me out with that one.
Yes, I believe they're pushing towards learning how to network as they get older. And I know that currently, LinkedIn is a very high priority website. So I guess along those lines, since we are moving to a technology-based career fields.
Well, I can deviate a little bit from that. I can tell you, being a team player is extremely important. I mean, if you're in it for yourself, if you're a backstabber, if you're going to cutthroat everybody and climb over everybody to get to the top, it's not going to work for most people. It's not. If you want collaborative skills, you're going to get involved with what's going on. You're going to be a team player with what's going on. You're going to volunteer your time, extra time. You're going to skip lunch. You're going to stay late. You're going to show up early. Those are extremely important skills. Show up early. That's probably the most important thing to impress any boss at a young age where you're going to be coming in at entry level. So that's probably your best little advice right there.
Awesome. And so I'll direct the same question to Mr. Bill with what's an important collaborative skill or network skill that could help students in a professional setting?
So I've got a few things that I made jotted down and thinking about this. One is we've been talking about here is team building and being a part of a team. And so gather people around you and try to work with them, but it's okay if they don't step up the way that you expect them to. Kind of it, but just have an end in sight and get people in there, because it's more getting people involved and around than it is the end product that has to happen. You've got to keep that in mind, especially if you have a goal. But and the other ones I'd go on to is conduct meetings or conduct interactions without being, we call it the sage on the stage. Some people who have something to say about everything, the person who's leading the meeting gets to be that. The chairman of the board at the end of the table can say something to every single person and every single idea that comes up, but that's typically the only person. You want to not follow through with that. The other one that, and I was thinking about this, is you really have to like people. You have to, and it's a skill to develop, is you learn to just like people, and it comes across that feeling that you're important to me, and it's and then it goes from there on to follow through. Make sure you are the person that can always be counted on, that if you say something is going to be done, it's done before. And if it can't be done, you tell them beforehand why it can't be done and get an extension, but not at the time. But those are the skills that come to mind as so what you're talking about.
Yes. And then same question for Ms. Karen, with what is an important collaborative skill that helps students in a professional setting?
I truly believe this is the most important, and that is, do not interrupt the person that is speaking. So many times I see students think they know what I'm about to ask or I'm about to explain, and they stop me in the middle of my sentence and try to tell me what the answer is going to be. So that will hurt you in the long run if you continually interrupt the person that is speaking to you, or you turn around and say to them, oh, I know what you're going to say, or I know the answer to that. Wait till that person is done speaking before you make any suggestions. I'm a consultant for LinkedIn. I've been a consultant since 2005 for them. So when you're looking at an employer that you want to go work for, look up that company on LinkedIn. Go and look up who the hiring manager is. People have a tendency to hire and buy from people that are similar to their background or people they like. So if you can find something that you can connect with, maybe you both went to the same school, maybe you both love animals, but there's something that's got to be a connection to where they're going to want to be around you or want to mentor and develop you to bring out your best skills.
Very nice. So the next question is starting with Bill. How do you manage stress as a leader in your industry?
Well, it's a really interesting question, because we teach people how to deal with emergency situations, and we'll put them in situations where one building is on fire and another building has collapsed, and you've got people that are missing and kids that are missing, and we're throwing all kinds of information at them. And so you can't get a more stressful situation than that, especially when you throw the kid in there, that's missing. And the thing that we tell everybody all the time is to be very aware of yourself. And if you feel, when that it's getting a little high in the voice, you can hear the voice kind of getting a little higher. You can feel the pressure. You can feel it's actually a visual thing where you'll find your vision narrowing. And if you find that happening, then you really need to just pause for a second. And if I'm talking about extremely stressful situations, I know, it's different than others, but you need to pause for a second and look away. And sometimes it's even go to the bathroom and close the stall door, to just give yourself a minute or two to just take some deep breaths and open your thought to listen for ideas of how to do this. Because most people that are put in those leadership roles know what to do, but they're kind of blocking the idea from all the stress, and just literally taking a breath makes a difference. And sometimes you don't want to have people see you doing that because it's kind of obvious, but just relax. If you find it, you see the tunnel vision, or you feel you're not seeing, or too many things are happening, is just pause. There's just pause.
And so same question for Karen is, how do you manage stress as a leader in your industry?
I manage stress. I'm a puppy raiser and volunteer for Guide Dogs for the Blind. So I raise and train puppies for Guide Dogs for the Blind. And if I'm having a stressful day, I will go take my dogs for a walk. I just need to clear my head, refocus, because when you're dealing with companies, you cannot let your personal feelings about a situation come out. It's got to be strictly about the facts and what happened. So I usually go for about a 15-minute walk, clear my head, and come back and can look at whatever the problem is. And, was it me? Was it them? How do we fix the problems? It's not about blame. It's always about how do I fix the problem and come up with some solutions.
Very good. And so same question for Ray, would be, how do you manage stress as a leader in your industry?
Well, first of all, and Karen will appreciate this, I was thinking back a long time ago, before internet, before cell phones, one of my first early jobs, they asked me, why do you want to work here? And that was a good question. It was a machine shop. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to do. And I said, boy, I think this would be a cool place to work. I did get the job. I was hired. However, these days, with all of the tools that we have available to see what companies do, who works there, especially with LinkedIn, doing your due diligence before any interview is imperative. Secondly, in regards to your question of stress, you'll get into a situation, and I learned this a lot when I was through my career, is you'll be tasked with getting a job done and having people do something that you don't have the power for them to do. You're not their boss, but you got to get them to help you out. You got to get them to support your program or project. And how are you going to do that? It becomes very stressful. How do you get people to do things that you cannot command them to do? So that's where your personal skills come into play. That's where you learn how to apply your interpersonal communication with voice, body language, politeness, courtesy, fortitude, professionalism, a number of things to get you through those spots where people will help you out when they really don't have to. So when it gets to the point where you get stressed out, you get in a tight spot between a rock and a hard place, we like to say, like Karen, you go outside, you take a breath, you regroup, you go to the coffee shop, you get a cup of coffee, and reorganize your thoughts and take a few breaths. Do not ever get upset. Do not ever shout or scream or throw a tantrum. It doesn't do you any good. So everybody has their own squeezy ball to play with, a desktop toy, whatever it takes to unwind for a few minutes, get your mind back in the game, and focus.
Very nice. And so my next question is for Bill. I apologize. How did you build your personal skills as you started your entry-level position?
Actually, there were two things, and one dovetails right off of Ray, and we didn't talk about this before. Very early on, I was introduced to Toastmasters, and I was a Coast Guard recruiter, and I could talk up the military fine, but I got introduced to Toastmasters, and it is I've used those skills 40 years later that I can still remember specifically being outlined at the first few meetings and then reinforced as it goes on. And it's a fun type thing. And Toastmasters is I went to one for a friend not too long ago. It felt exactly the same when I went to IBM in San Francisco in 1975, and I know that's probably your grandparents' time, but it's, Toastmasters was huge. The other one that is absolutely timeless is and I probably even have it here behind me, is the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There are hundreds and hundreds of self-help books that have been written since, probably thousands. And the ones I've read several of them, and they all kind of dovetail off of this one. So I just go back and read this one more often. It's timeless. So using that one, there's another one called Drucker, the Drucker Institute. They have some amazing self-help tools and things to work with. So those three things are ones that I really used and continue to use today.
Very good. And so I'll direct the same question to Ray with how did you build your personal strengths in your first entry-level position?
Well, I going to sound like a broken record here, but I took my skills from Toastmasters and remember a few things when you're in front of a group of people: eye contact, voice inflection, body language. As you want to rise through the ranks, you're going to be conducting meetings where there's 2, 3, 5 people sitting around a table, maybe 10, 20. I have progressed to the point where I've addressed audiences of 500 people at a major convention. And to get up to that lectern and to address a crowd like that, you've got to have some of the skills in your back pocket to call upon. And so it's the basic things that you need to use right from the very beginning, right from your first job interview, is look people right in the eye, shake their hand firmly, sit down with conviction, be involved, be engaged, and act like you want to be there. Because you know what, your first job, you might be there for 10 years or more. And be very careful about where you select where you want to be. It's important. I worked full-time since I was 13 years old. And by the time I got out of high school and took my early career job, I was there for 17 years. And so it was, I started out as a lowly bench technician and ended up being the service and support manager for a major organization. And learning those skills along the way can really carry you far.
Very good. And so I'll also direct the question to Miss Karen with how did you build your personal strengths in your first entry-level position?
The first thing I did before that is I took a Myers-Briggs assessment, which really helped me to understand how I interact with people, what types of managers I would work best with. And it just gave me a lot more confidence when I walked in on the first day of work because I was able to, Myers-Briggs will break everything down for you. And I recommend that for everyone to do. I also attended Toastmasters as well because I wanted to make sure that I was effectively communicating to my boss. And the other is I've done this since high school, is I will do every year a vision board, and I keep that vision board on my desk, and it helps me to focus so I can achieve my goals and dreams, and for you to believe in yourself, because the world can be really hard out there and you can get discouraged very quickly and start to doubt yourself. And the moment you doubt yourself, others will too. I believe everything you do reflects on you. So believe in who you are and what you bring to the table. And the vision board will go a long way. I now have clients that come to my home. I've got about 50 people and we do vision boards together, and it's now 3 weekends. So it goes a long way.
I like that you mentioned the test. And for the students that are watching, I hope that you go back and review your high five test and your color code test, which are similar, but definitely take the Myers-Briggs test. It's very helpful. And so a student did ask in the Q&A box, and I'll start with Bill. How do you balance your work life and your personal life?
Well, thanks much. I got an answer to that, but I just had to share in case people were looking behind. I've got my book, the Dale Carnegie book, right over my shoulder, right here, because I got the books here on my desk that when I'm on hold or I have some sort of gap time, I grab a book and start thumbing through it again and start reading ideas. Don't stop reading, and that would be one of the things is keep reading, and there's so much information that's there that can help you in reading actually in books. Balancing home and personal life, I don't know if I do a good job of that. I'm now an empty nester. Our last daughter is graduating college in 2 weeks, and she's in the Midwest, and she's got a new job in Boston. My wife works with me in the company. We moved our business home about 2.5 years ago. She works upstairs, and I have downstairs, and we get together for our meals and then evenings. But we just keep, the conversations keep lapping over. And so we'll be out, walking on a dirt road, and one of us will say, hey, did you think about this or that or the other thing? We're not as much, the limitation of, shutting it down, because we're comfortable enough, I guess, with each other that we have that we could just let an idea flow and then it just goes away. So we're not as big a stronger of a perfect balance or a shut off at the end of the day, but it doesn't consume us either. We'll binge watch, different shows on TV and those kind of things as well.
Very good. And so I'll direct the same question to Ms. Karen with, how do you balance your work life and your personal life?
I can tell you, when you first start your career, you're going to have no personal life because there's so much to do, and companies are really going to give you a lot of work, and you want to be 100% committed. You don't want to be going in the next day with a hangover or sleeping at your desk. So you're going to be committed to a lot of hours in the beginning. But as my career progressed, how I balanced my work and my personal life, it basically became one. Because I'm working with people and I'm finding great jobs for people, and my clients are happy and the candidates are happy. So it became a hobby. Many of my clients are my friends. So the other thing that I do is I'm involved in nonprofits. So it takes it off of me, and I'm making people's lives better. If it's through Guide Dogs for the Blind, or some of the other charities that I'm involved in, American Heart Association, it's about taking yourself out of whatever's going on in your day and being able to make an impact in someone else's life. You really do appreciate everything that you have. And we all need to remember that today we all have a roof over our head. We have running water, right? We've got food on the table. And if that's enough, that's going to make you happy today, then you need to accept that, because many people don't have that. So being grateful for everything I have. And I don't take anything for granted. It can be, last week we had the fires here and I had to evacuate for 3 days with 2 dogs. So enjoy every moment of every day.
Good. And I believe Mr. Ray might be having technical issues, but no worries. We will keep going. And so I did want to ask, a student submitted here in the Slack, in the message, in the Slack message. For high school students right now, they're getting ready to graduate. They're probably registering for colleges. What can they do to go ahead and start getting prepared now? And I'll direct this to Bill first.
I think the key, well, I guess I'll speak because my most recent experience has been as a parent, is really look at the finances. Really focus like a laser on the finances. Is that, you can go through all the process. You've got the passion for the college, perhaps you've got your direction or whatever, but the finances, to me, one of the worst things is winding up on the other end with a crippling student debt. And that is so many people, it's just happening. And we were able to work and get our daughter to it's a very small amount that's left over. But it's because the other thing is that we didn't realize is that all of the finances and everything in place that you're working on are possible now. But once you start college, there's virtually nothing, you can't reapply. It's all before. At least our experience is that, it's you can't go back as a sophomore and ask for, another grant or whatever. It's like they only do it for high school seniors. So my really about the strongest encouragement I can offer is really understand what the cost is going to be on the other end. Do a good spreadsheet. What not only the cost but the books and the airfare. Coming home, because if you're going to want to come home 3 or 4 times a year, if you're out of state or even close, you've got to budget all that in, because it'll sneak up on you.
Very good. And so I'll ask the question to Ms. Karen next. With what can high school students do right now as they're registering for colleges to be prepared?
Really get to know, if you know, some people want to go, let's say you're from California and you're looking at schools back east. If you don't like cold weather, that is not a place you should go to just because it's a great school. And a lot of times I've seen students that, you know, I really want to go to NYU, and they forget you're from California. They get off the plane and they're wearing shorts, and people go, oh, California. So make sure that, you know, the climate's going to be what you want it to be. And really just look at your network around you. So the types of jobs that your parents' friends have, maybe it's something you want to get into. So I would start talking to your friends' parents, what they do, how they got into it, what did they learn when they were in school, and it'll kind of give you a little bit more direction on what you want to do. Because many times it's, I have to go to four-year college, I have to go to four-year college, but you don't know what you want to do. And that's fine. But start with your close network. Talk to your friends, talk to your teachers. You can even call up companies and get an informational interview. So let's say you want to be a web designer. Well, you can call up, you know, a company and see if you can talk to that person to find a little bit more about that position.
Very good. And then I'll also direct the question to Ray. What can high school students do right now to get prepared as they're registering for colleges?
Well, that's a good question. It depends on what your skill set is and where your interests are. I realize a lot of schools these days do not have vocational arts, career technical education programs. However, if they do, I encourage everybody to get into IT, which is computer science, or get into the machine shop CNC operation, drafting blueprint, which will lead you into CAD and CAD design. Some of the more technical skills I would recommend, and then that could push you in a position where you might want to go to a Cal Poly school like Pomona, or if you're top notch, you can go to San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. What those two schools are known for is hands-on, learn by doing. And that's what we really want out here in industry. We want someone that knows what they're doing. When you show up, you know what you're doing. We're not going to start you from scratch and training all over again. So if you're computer savvy, if you have some good core skills, if you show up every day and got a great attitude, you're well ahead of the game.
Very good. And so Ray, I'll stick with you. What final advice would you give to the students that are watching as they're finishing out their high school and, you know, transition from middle school to high school to be prepared for the world?
To be prepared is a big question. I would suggest not doing what I did and go straight from high school into college and get all of your college core stuff done, at least your bachelor's degree first. Wait till you're getting to be about, you know, a few years older, maybe 25 or so, before you try to take on a master's degree if you want to go that direction. Do all of the work that you can possibly do. Do the extra homework. Do the extra assignments. Do a lot of extracurricular things that you just want to pass off on, because believe me, you'll stumble across things that you can use later on in life. And having those good skills available, that IT knowledge, the design knowledge, the technical knowledge, knowing how to operate a screwdriver and a hammer. And it's surprising how many people don't have the basic things these days.
Very good. And so I'll direct the same question to Bill. With what advice can you give to students to be prepared? Oh, sorry, you are muted.
Oh, thanks. There's two things that come to mind. One is that the classes that you've been through now, that you're going through, and that you're going to be going through in college, these are real experiences, and you can look at them in two different ways. I've got to get through. I've got to do this assignment and get this done. I've got to do this assignment and get this done. And so you're going to pass the course and maybe get an A. But have you really internalized it? Because this is the time for you to internalize a project, understand what it is, what the purpose is, and then perform to that purpose. And that's where I believe an employer is going to see. Are you simply, if you say, you know, go through this and they go through all the steps, but you've missed some key aspect of it without understanding what the project is. And this is what school right now and classes are teaching you, is how to think and think to the process. So it's I would say learn, not pass. You know, don't pass a course, don't go through a course, learn what's in front of you and really internalize it. And the other thing that I would say is, if you don't already, is I would say learn and practice chess. You know, learn the game, practice the game, sit in front of a person on the other end, because I've never experienced anything that doesn't teach you more about how to think a problem through several different ways. Because a problem is not superficial. When a problem comes to you and you're in business, there are loads of elements to it, and you've got to have the skill to be able to see more than what's the question right there. And chess does a magnificent job of teaching you how to think 3 or 4 moves or 5 or 6 moves ahead, and with a person on the other end that you're interacting with. I wouldn't say it works as well online.
Very good. And so I'll direct the same question to Ms. Karen. With what advice can you give students to be prepared?
Make sure you clean up your social media, because we as employers, I will go on everyone's Facebook, your Instagram, everything, and I will know everything about you. And you want to make sure that you're cleaning up now, because we will find it. And many people have lost jobs because of what they have posted out there. So if you've been out there partying with your friends, make sure they don't tag you in a posting, because even though it's something that you've done in high school, it will come back and haunt you when you're going to look for a job. So make sure that your social media over the summer, you're cleaning it up, that there's nothing that would stop you from getting that great intern job, or someone wanting to give you an opportunity to work part-time. But clean up your social media.
Very good. Well, I know it is 3:54. I do want to thank the panelists for joining us for our week 1 Student Leadership Series panel session. This was amazing, and you all gave amazing advice that I do hope the students do take with them as they're entering their career journey and pathway. And finally, I'm going to share my screen. There's been so many students are excited to get the code. They're playing what we call a community game. They're probably like, hurry up, Ari. They're playing a community game that gives them points as they rack up to see who gets the highest ranking. But I want to thank you all for joining us. And your code is here. And then if you do have any final questions, you can always email them to me. Receive my email, the chat might be too small, but you can receive my email from your instructor or your lead registered teacher. All right. And then did you, for the panelists, did you all have any final words before we go?
It's just been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll see you all again.
Bye.
Bye.
Travel safe, everyone.
Dennis, you don't have to close it in case they're still getting their code. You can enter the code. Okay. And again, for the students that are in the chat box, this is the code that you'll be entering in on the VitalLink app. Make sure you go to the community game portion, which is a little widget on the app. and then you'll see where it says got a code, enter it here. If your code does not work, please make sure you include the exclamation points. You type it in all caps, and make sure you don't hit the space bar by accident. This will close in 2 minutes. There was only one code. I'll see you all later.